Part 1. They said I wasn't important enough for the wedding, but they forgot who paid for their life. When my son Daniel stopped answering my calls for 3 days, I told myself he was just busy. Maybe work had gotten hectic. Maybe wedding planning was overwhelming. Maybe his fiancée, Vanessa, was stressed. After all, their wedding was only 2 weeks away, or at least that's what I believed. For months, I had been quietly helping them prepare. I covered half their rent when Daniel's hours were cut at work. I paid for Vanessa's dental emergency. I even gave her $900 for what she called last-minute wedding costs. I imagined myself sitting proudly in the front row, watching my only son begin a new chapter. I had already bought my lavender dress. I had matching heels. I had even practiced my smile in the mirror so I wouldn't cry too hard when he said his vows. Then, on a Wednesday afternoon, my phone buzzed. It wasn't Daniel. It was my neighbor, Carol. "Margaret, I don't know how to say this, but I just saw wedding photos online." I laughed. "That's impossible," I said. "The wedding is next Saturday." Silence. Then she texted me the link. My hands shook as I opened it. There it was, Vanessa in a white satin gown, Daniel in a navy tuxedo, a decorated vineyard, champagne glasses, a floral arch. And underneath the photo, yesterday was perfect. Married my best friend surrounded by the people who matter most. Yesterday. Yesterday, I couldn't breathe. I scrolled faster. Her parents were there, her sisters, friends, co-workers, even distant cousins. But not me, not Daniel's mother, not the woman who spent the last 3 years making sure they never missed rent, never went hungry, never lost electricity. I called Daniel immediately. No answer. Again, voicemail. Then Vanessa finally picked up. Her voice was sugary, sweet, like always. "Oh, Margaret, we were going to call." "Call me?" I whispered. "You got married." A pause, then she laughed nervously. "Well, it was very intimate." "Intimate?" "We just wanted people who truly supported our relationship." Those words hit harder than a slap. People who truly supported them. I had emptied savings meant for my retirement. I had skipped vacations, postponed dental work, used my late husband's emergency fund. And somehow, I wasn't supportive enough. That evening, Daniel finally came over. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Mom, please don't make this harder than it already is." Harder? I stared at the boy I had raised alone after his father died. The same boy whose school lunches I packed, whose college debt I helped pay, whose apartment sofa I bought. "Why?" I asked. He sighed. "Vanessa thought you'd be too emotional." Too emotional. Not too generous. Not too helpful. Not too loving. Too emotional. I nodded slowly, because when your heart shatters, sometimes silence is the only thing keeping you standing. I walked to my bedroom, opened my closet, and stared at the unworn lavender dress. Tag still attached. Then I did something I never thought I would do. I took the envelope holding the $5,000 wedding gift I had saved for them and locked it back inside my safe. Because for the first time in my life, I began to wonder if maybe I wasn't their mother. Maybe I was just their bank account. And what happened next would prove just how right I was. Part 2. A week after excluding me, they called for rent money. For 7 days, I heard absolutely nothing from Daniel. No apology, no explanation. No, "Mom, I'm sorry." It was as if I had simply vanished from his life the moment the wedding photos were posted. At first, I kept checking my phone like a fool. Every vibration made my heart race. Maybe this was the call where he'd finally explain everything. Maybe he'd tell me Vanessa pushed for it. Maybe he'd say he regretted it. But day after day, nothing. And slowly, the truth became impossible to ignore. My pain wasn't an emergency to them, but on the 8th day, my phone rang at exactly 9:12 a.m. Vanessa. I stared at her name flashing across the screen and almost didn't answer. Almost. But curiosity is a powerful thing. Hello? Her tone was different immediately. No sweetness, no fake warmth, just panic. Margaret, thank God. Daniel's been trying to reach you. That was a lie. He has. A pause. Well, we've both been so overwhelmed. Clearly, she ignored that. So, our rent is due tomorrow, and the landlord said, if we don't pay by Friday, he'll start eviction paperwork. I nearly dropped my coffee, not because I was shocked they needed money, but because she said it so casually, as if after excluding me from their wedding, humiliating me publicly and treating me like an outsider, I would still automatically rescue them. Margaret, she pressed, did you hear me? Oh, I heard you. I stood by my kitchen window, staring at the roses I had planted years ago with Daniel when he was 12. How much? Just $1,450. Just. There was that word again, as if nearly $1,500 was pocket change, as if I hadn't already spent tens of thousands supporting them. Vanessa, I said calmly, I thought your wedding was for the people who mattered most. Silence. The kind of silence that tells you someone's mask just slipped. What? I mean, I continued, surely one of those special guests can help. Margaret, don't do this. Don't do this? For 3 years, I had paid their rent more times than I could count. I had purchased groceries, covered utility bills, helped with car repairs, even funded their honeymoon deposit. A honeymoon I found out about through Instagram. And now suddenly, I was cruel. Daniel said you were upset, she snapped, her voice sharpening. But I didn't realize you'd be petty. Petty. I actually laughed, not because it was funny, because it was unbelievable. Petty is inviting 120 guests to a wedding and excluding the woman who kept your lights on. She gasped like I had insulted her. You're being manipulative? No, I replied. For the first time, I'm being honest. Then Daniel got on the phone. Mom, come on, we're family. Family. That word. Funny how family only seemed important when rent was due. Daniel, I said quietly, was I family last Saturday? He didn't answer. Was I family when your bride said only special people were invited? Still nothing. His silence told me everything. Mom. No, I interrupted. You made your decision. Now I'm making mine. And for the first time in my entire life, I hung up on my son. My hands trembled afterward, not from guilt, not from fear, but from something unfamiliar, power. By noon, Daniel had called 6 times. Vanessa texted twice. By evening, I received a message that read, "We may lose our apartment because of you, because of me, not because of their irresponsibility, not because of entitlement. Me." That was the moment something inside me changed forever. I walked straight to my desk, opened my banking app, and canceled every automatic payment I had set up for them. Rent, utilities, insurance, phone bill, gone. 3 years of financial support, erased in under 10 minutes. Then I poured myself a fresh cup of tea, sat down, and whispered something I should have said years ago. No more. But I had no idea. They were already planning something far worse than angry phone calls. Part 3. They let themselves into my house and brought a lawyer. The morning after I canceled every payment, I expected anger. I expected guilt trips. I expected dramatic voicemails about eviction, betrayal, and how I was tearing the family apart. What I did not expect was to come home from the grocery store and find my front door unlocked. At first, I froze. I knew I had locked it. I always locked it. My heart pounded so hard, I could hear it in my ears as I slowly pushed the door open. Voices inside my house. Daniel's voice, Vanessa's voice, and a man's voice I didn't recognize. I stepped into my living room and stopped cold. Daniel was pacing near the fireplace. Vanessa sat on my couch, the one I bought for them before deciding to keep it, with her arms crossed like she owned the place, and seated at my dining table was a man in a charcoal suit, flipping through my financial paperwork, my bank statements, my retirement documents, my personal files. "What exactly do you think you're doing?" Every head turned. For a split second, all three of them looked startled. Then Vanessa stood, recovering first. Margaret, finally, as though I were late to my own ambush, Daniel stepped forward. "Mom, please don't overreact." Overreact? I looked at the stranger. "And you are?" He stood, buttoning his jacket with rehearsed professionalism. "Mrs. Whitmore, I'm attorney Stephen Hale. Your son and daughter-in-law asked me to help discuss your recent concerning decisions." Concerning decisions? You mean cutting off 2 grown adults from my checking account? Vanessa sighed dramatically. "This is exactly what we mean. You've become irrational." I laughed. Actually laughed, because there is something almost absurd about being called irrational by people who secretly marry, publicly exclude you, then trespass in your home, demanding access to your money. "Get out." Daniel blinked. "Mom." "No, let me be very clear. You used your spare key to enter my home without permission. You brought a lawyer here. You went through my private records. So before this gets uglier, get out." Mr. Hale raised a hand. "Mrs. Whitmore, no one is trying to upset you. Your family is simply worried. Sudden financial withdrawal, emotional instability, social isolation." I cut him off. Social isolation. I was isolated from my own son's wedding. Silence. Even Mr. Hale paused. Vanessa changed tactics instantly. Her eyes filled with tears so quickly, it was almost impressive. "We're scared," she whispered. "You've changed." Changed? Yes, I had changed. I had stopped funding them, and apparently, to them, boundaries looked like insanity. Daniel finally said what they had really come for. "Mom, maybe it would just be easier if you signed temporary financial oversight, just until things calm down." There it was. Not concern, control. They wanted legal access to my accounts, my late husband's savings, my pension, my home. I stared at my son, really stared, and for the first time, I didn't see my little boy. I saw a man calculating what my life was worth. I walked to the table, picked up the papers, and read the title, Temporary Power of Attorney. My stomach turned. Vanessa had already signed as witness. They came prepared. "You planned this?" "Margaret, please," Vanessa said softly. "This protects everyone." "No," I said, "it protects you." Then I tore the document in half, right in front of them. Daniel's face changed instantly. Gone was the pleading son. Now he looked angry. "Mom, if you keep acting like this, people are going to start questioning your mental state." And there it was, the threat. Not subtle anymore. My own son was implying he could have me declared incompetent. I walked to the front door and opened it wide. "Leave now, before I call the police, and explain exactly why there's a lawyer trespassing in my dining room. Mr. Hale was first to move. He knew this had gone too far, but before Vanessa walked out, she turned and hissed, "You're making a huge mistake." "No," I said calmly. "My mistake was ever believing love that comes with invoices is real." I watched them leave. Then I locked the door, and for the first time in years, I realized I wasn't just fighting for my money anymore. I was fighting for my freedom. But what they did next, it would prove just how far greed can go. Part 4. My son tried to prove I was losing my mind. The morning after Daniel and Vanessa stormed out of my house, I did something I should have done years earlier. I called a lawyer of my own, not one hired by panic, not one carrying power of attorney papers. A real attorney, someone whose loyalty wasn't tied to my son's rent. His name was Jonathan Mercer, and he had helped my late husband draft our estate plan nearly 20 years ago. When I explained everything, the secret wedding, the financial dependence, the trespassing, the fake concern, the power of attorney stunt, he became very quiet. Then he said 5 words that changed everything. "This is elder financial coercion." Hearing it spoken aloud made my stomach twist, because suddenly this wasn't family drama. This was abuse. By noon, I was sitting in his office with 3 years of bank records spread across a polished mahogany table. Rent payments, utility bills, car repairs, medical emergencies, furniture, vacation deposits, cash transfers labeled just this once. Jonathan totaled everything. Then he leaned back and removed his glasses. "Margaret, you gave them over $41,000. $41,000. I physically stopped breathing for a second. I knew I'd helped. I knew it had been a lot. But seeing the number, it felt like reading the cost of my own denial. "That's my retirement," I whispered. Jonathan nodded. "And now that access is threatened, they're escalating." He didn't sugarcoat it. He explained how some families use accusations of confusion, paranoia, or instability to pressure older relatives into guardianship evaluations. Suddenly, Vanessa's words echoed differently. "You've changed. We're worried. This protects everyone." It was never about concern. It was strategy. That same afternoon, Jonathan helped me do 4 things immediately. First, revoke every emergency authorization Daniel had. Second, update my will. Third, change my home locks. Fourth, document every interaction moving forward. By evening, I finally felt something unfamiliar, prepared. But peace didn't last long, because 2 days later, someone knocked on my door. Not Daniel, not Vanessa. A woman with a clipboard. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Whitmore. I'm Susan Keller with Adult Wellness Services. We've received reports that your recent behavior may indicate cognitive decline." I just stared at her. For a moment, I genuinely thought it had to be a joke. Then I realized they reported me, my own son, my own daughter-in-law. They had escalated from manipulation to involving the state. "May I come in?" she asked politely. Every instinct told me to slam the door, but Jonathan's voice echoed in my head. "Stay calm, document everything." So I let her in. Susan asked careful questions. Did I manage my own finances? Was I taking medication properly? Had I been isolating myself? Did I feel suspicious of loved ones? Every question was designed to sound helpful, while quietly building a case. I answered clearly. "Yes, I handle all finances independently. No, I have no memory issues. No, I'm not paranoid. Yes, I installed cameras after unauthorized entry into my home." That last answer made her pause. Unauthorized entry? So I told her everything: the wedding, the money, the trespassing, the lawyer, the power of attorney papers. By the time I finished, her clipboard had lowered, and for the first time, I saw not suspicion, understanding. "Mrs. Whitmore," she said carefully, "based on what you've shared, this sounds less like mental decline and more like possible financial exploitation. Validation, real validation." I nearly cried. She closed her folder. "I'm required to file a report, but not against you." That evening, Daniel called 17 times. 17. Vanessa texted, "Did you seriously talk to social services? How dare you make us look abusive?" Make them look abusive? I didn't have to make them look like anything. Their actions were doing that just fine. I blocked both numbers. Then I sat alone in my kitchen, staring at the silence, and for the first time, silence didn't feel lonely. It felt safe. But safety has a way of provoking desperate people, because 1 week later, I was served court papers. My son wasn't asking anymore. He was officially trying to take control of my life. When the court papers arrived, my hands didn't shake. Not because I wasn't afraid, but because deep down, I had already seen this coming. Daniel and Vanessa had officially filed a petition claiming I was mentally unfit to manage my finances. Their request? Court-appointed guardianship. In simple terms, they wanted legal control over my money, my home, my decisions, my entire life. According to them, I was emotionally unstable, financially reckless, and easily manipulated. Financially reckless. After financing their lives for years, I sat at my kitchen table reading lie after lie, and one terrifying realization hit me. This was never about love. This was never even about rent. This was about ownership. They believed everything I had should already belong to them. Jonathan, my attorney, moved quickly. "Margaret," he said, "this is serious, but it's also transparent." Their filing included witness statements: Vanessa, Daniel, a bitter neighbor who barely knew me, and, shockingly, a statement from a local physician I had never even seen. That was the moment Jonathan's expression hardened. They're building a narrative. And so, we built the truth. Within 48 hours, I underwent a full cognitive and psychological evaluation with an independent specialist. Memory tests, financial reasoning, problem solving, emotional assessment. 3 hours of questions. At the end, Dr. Elaine Porter smiled. "Mrs. Whitmore, your cognitive function is exceptional. Frankly, you're sharper than many people half your age." I almost laughed, because somehow the woman who had balanced a household, survived widowhood, managed retirement, and financially supported 2 adults, was supposedly incompetent only after she stopped paying their bills. Interesting timing. Meanwhile, Jonathan uncovered something even uglier. The physician's statement Daniel submitted had come from a walk-in clinic doctor who had never examined me. Vanessa had described me secondhand as confused and unstable. And the doctor, without ever meeting me, had noted possible concerning behavioral changes. They were manufacturing evidence, but greed makes people sloppy. Jonathan subpoenaed records. The truth cracked fast. Court day arrived 3 weeks later. I wore navy blue, not black. I wasn't attending a funeral. I was defending my life. Daniel wouldn't look at me. Vanessa, however, looked polished and heartbreakingly convincing, holding tissues, lowering her gaze, playing the worried daughter-in-law. If I hadn't lived it, I might have believed her too. Their lawyer argued I had become paranoid, isolated, and financially irrational. Then Jonathan stood and calmly dismantled them. He presented every bank transfer, every bill, every emergency, every wedding expense I unknowingly funded. Then came the most devastating moment. He displayed Vanessa's social media wedding caption on a screen, surrounded by the people who matter most. The courtroom went silent. Jonathan looked directly at the judge. "Your Honor, Mrs. Whitmore was apparently competent enough to finance this event, but not important enough to attend it." Even Daniel looked ashamed. Then Dr. Porter testified. Clear, professional, unshakable. No evidence of dementia, no cognitive impairment, no diminished financial capacity. Then it was my turn. I told the truth, not dramatically, not bitterly, just honestly. "I loved my son," I said, "and I confused helping him with protecting him from adulthood. When I stopped financing his life, I did not lose my mind. I found it." I saw the judge's face change, because truth doesn't need theatrics. It just needs clarity. The ruling came that afternoon. Petition denied, immediately. But the judge didn't stop there. He warned Daniel and Vanessa that further harassment, coercion, or fraudulent claims could result in legal consequences. I had won, not just the case, my autonomy, my dignity, my future. But outside that courthouse, Daniel said something I will never forget. "You've chosen strangers over family." I looked him dead in the eye. "No, Daniel, I finally chose myself." And that should have been the end. But losing in court only made Vanessa more dangerous. Because desperate people don't always stop when they lose. I thought the judge's ruling would end it. I was wrong. For about 10 days, things were quiet. Too quiet. No calls. No surprise visits. No fake apologies. And honestly, that silence unnerved me more than their chaos. Because people like Vanessa rarely accept defeat gracefully. Then it started. First, whispers. A neighbor I barely knew gave me a pitying look at the mailbox. At church, an old acquaintance awkwardly asked if I was feeling better. Better from what? Then Eleanor, my kind next-door neighbor who had become a true friend, came over with a folded Facebook printout. Her face was pale. "You need to see this." It was a post. Vanessa had written a long, emotional story about the heartbreak of loving someone through mental decline. No names, but enough details. Widowed mother-in-law, financial instability, paranoia, painful delusions, and of course, comments flooded in. "Praying for your family? You're so strong. Mental illness is heartbreaking." She had lost in court. So now she was trying to win socially. She was painting herself as the suffering victim of an unstable older woman. I won't lie, that hurt. Not because strangers believed her, but because it showed just how far she was willing to go. Jonathan immediately documented everything. "Defamation," he said simply. And for the first time, Vanessa's performance had consequences. A formal cease and desist was sent within 24 hours. Every post, every implication, every false narrative removed. But social damage is trickier than legal damage. Rumors spread faster than corrections. So instead of hiding, I did something unexpected. I showed up. Church, garden club, bookstore, charity events, hair appointments, lunch dates. I lived publicly, calmly, confidently, not defensively, just visibly. Because lies weaken when reality remains consistent. People saw me laughing, driving, organizing fundraisers, handling finances, travel planning, painting classes. In short, not exactly the portrait of someone spiraling into madness. And slowly, Vanessa's story began collapsing. Then came the final blow. One of her own cousins sent me screenshots, private messages. Vanessa complaining that if Margaret would just cooperate, our life would be fixed. Not if Margaret got help, not if Margaret healed, if Margaret cooperated, meaning gave money. That screenshot was gold. Jonathan added it to our harassment file. And suddenly, Daniel called, not angry, not threatening, broken. "Mom, Vanessa's getting blamed for everything." I nearly laughed, because for once, accountability had entered the room. "Daniel," I said quietly, "she didn't post those lies alone. She felt comfortable doing it because you allowed it." Silence. Then, "Can we meet?" I thought about it. My son, my child, the boy I once stayed awake nursing through fevers, the man who tried to take my freedom. "Not yet," I said, and that "not yet" mattered, because forgiveness without change is just surrender. Weeks later, Vanessa's reputation had shifted. People weren't calling her brave anymore. They were calling her manipulative. And Daniel? For the first time in his adult life, he had to get a second job. Turns out, rent feels very different when your mother isn't paying it. But just when I thought karma had finally arrived, Daniel showed up at my door alone, and what he said next almost broke me. It was raining the night Daniel returned. Not a dramatic storm, just a steady, cold drizzle, the kind that makes everything feel heavier. I almost didn't answer the door, but when I checked the camera and saw him standing there alone, soaked, shoulders slumped, no Vanessa. I opened it. For one fragile second, my heart betrayed me. Maybe this was it. Maybe this was the apology. Maybe my son had finally come home. He looked exhausted, older, not physically, but spiritually. "Mom." Just that one word nearly shattered me. I let him in. He stood awkwardly in the foyer, like a guest in the home he once entered with entitlement. I offered tea. He nodded, and for a moment, sitting across from him at my kitchen table, it almost felt like before the wedding, before court, before betrayal turned every memory complicated. Then he started crying, real crying, not performative, not Vanessa-style tears. This was grief. Vanessa left. I blinked. "What?" He stared at his hands. "She said she didn't sign up to struggle. She moved in with her parents last week." I wish I could say I felt triumph. I didn't. I felt tired. Because despite everything, watching your child suffer doesn't magically stop hurting just because they hurt you first. She said, he swallowed hard, that marrying me was supposed to be a step up, not this. There it was, the brutal truth, not love, lifestyle. And suddenly, pieces of the past clicked into place. The urgency for money, the image management, the wedding spectacle, the guardianship push. Vanessa had never just wanted Daniel. She wanted security. And when my money disappeared, so did her loyalty. Daniel looked up, devastated. "You warned me." I stayed quiet. Because yes, I had. Not loudly, not cruelly. But life has a way of making whispers feel deafening when they finally come true. "I thought setting boundaries meant you stopped loving me," he said. That sentence hit hard, because beneath all the manipulation, there it was. Immaturity, dependency. A grown man who had confused financial rescue with maternal love. "Daniel," I said carefully, "loving you is exactly why I should have stopped sooner." He cried harder, and for the first time in years, I saw not greed, not entitlement, just consequence. He admitted everything. Vanessa pushed the secret wedding. Vanessa encouraged distance. Vanessa suggested legal action, and this mattered, he also admitted his own guilt. I let it happen. Yes, he did. And healing can't begin until truth enters fully. Then came the question I knew was coming. Can I stay here just for a little while until I figure things out? My chest tightened. This was the moment. The old me would have said yes before he finished asking. The old me would have confused rescue with reconciliation, but I wasn't her anymore. I will help you, I said slowly. His face softened. Then I continued, but not by repeating the same mistake. I gave him the number of a financial counselor, a list of short-term rentals, a career placement service Jonathan's office recommended. I even offered to pay for 3 months of therapy, but not rent, not cash, not dependency. Support, yes, enablement, never again. At first he looked hurt. Then something changed. Understanding, real understanding. For the first time, my son wasn't asking me to save him. He was being asked to save himself. And maybe that was the greater gift. He hugged me before leaving, a real hug, not transactional, not manipulative, just broken. I'm sorry, Mom, I cried after he left, because some apologies heal, but they also mourn. Months passed. Daniel got counseling, a smaller apartment, better work, and slowly, cautiously. We began rebuilding, not the old relationship. That one had to die, but something new, something honest. And just when I believed life had finally stabilized, I received a letter from Vanessa, and her final move? It was bolder than anything before.